Most divorced dads think relapse means they're weak, and it doesn't. It means their brain is doing exactly what it was trained to do. You didn't relapse because, you didn't care. You relapsed because your system defaulted. Stress, familiar relief, and then regret. So, like, my personal story for me was in those moments or when those dark thoughts come, I had yet to define a clear pattern of what those thoughts should do. So in the scriptures, what's awesome is that it clearly says for what we should do. It says that we take every thought captive to the obedience of Christ. The obedience of Christ is that that thought is not in line with who God created you to be. That thought is not in line with that you being in the likeness and the image of God. And so what happens is we begin to fire on that thought, and whatever fires together wires together. What does that mean? That means that it gets stronger. The bond is harder to break. And I can remember sitting in a chair in my room and something would happen, something with the kids, or I can even remember one of my kids being sick and having to take him to the doctor. And at the time, the insurance thing for me didn't really have great insurance. I knew it was going to be, some money out of the pocket. And again, I'm at the time cash flow was tough. And so every dollar mattered. And I would get concerned and worried and anxious and fearful and all of these things over what was not yet to happen. I was getting into the future. I was getting into the unknown. And I don't have control of the unknown. I don't have control of the next few days. I have control of today. I have control of my thoughts. I have control what is happening right now. The presence, the awareness, and the understanding. And when you begin to understand those, you'll realize that relapse is not a moral failure. It's a neurological automation. It's a neurological automation. So if this podcast has been helpful for you in any way, just hit the sub button, man. Sub it, share it, review it. This gets the algorithm going nuts for other dads like you in pain, looking for purpose, power, cash flow, all of those things, creating their inner work so that they can have the life and legacy they want for their kids. That's all you can do. That's something simple you can do by clicking a couple buttons. So get into it. Thank you. I'd love to hear more about what's been helpful for you. So let's get into the definition of relapse, man. Let's get into what these thoughts are like and then what the heck to do. Because look, I sat in that same area with you. And many dads will say, well, that's just how it is. And I've just got to live through it or work through it, or time's going to help and be more helpful. Guys, you've got to understand that if you want different results, you got to do different things. And having a pre-planned decision, trapping those thoughts and having the right formula for where you want to go is exactly it. So relapse, it's not addiction. Relapse is returning to a familiar regulation strategy. Familiar regulation strategy. A lot of times for me, when I was, felt like a relapse or a dark moment or a tough day or really stressed out or really fearful or really anxious or any of those things, a lot of times this jumps into drinking, this jumps into overworking, this jumps into scrolling, this jumps into replaying the past arguments, this jumps into you going and stalking your ex on social media. What are they doing? Are they doing better than me? All of those kinds of things. It goes into emotional shutdown, goes into porn. You want to feel loved. You want to feel, that little spark again. Sometimes it goes into dating. So you got to understand that if your brain doesn't want healing, it wants certainty. That's what it wants. And when you're in this essential fog, in this place in your life, and you haven't designed it, you're living it by default, then this is the enemy's playground. This is exactly, he has come to steal, kill, and destroy. He's there to steal your time. He's there to steal your joy. He's there to kill your dreams. He's there to kill your energy. And he's there to destroy anything that you thought you might have, your identity, your dadhood, your bonds with your kids, your cash flow. He wants to destroy. And how does he do it? Distract you. If he can distract you, he can destroy you. And so all of those things are happening in those moments, and they're happening to you. And this is the valley of the shadow of death. This is the walk of growth. This is exactly where you're supposed to be. This is the right now that you're at. Neuroscience is comforting because it helps you understand where you are. And this is why relapse actually feels comforting. So when you do it, it's a comfort thing, and that's why you keep doing it. You don't do it because it's hard and you feel bad about it. You do it because you know it. It's certainty. You know what you're going to get. Because stress activates your brain. Your logic shuts down. The brain searches for known relief, and familiar behaviors feel safer than new discipline. That's what's going on. And so dopamine isn't pleasure, it's anticipation of relief. The brain prefers predictable pain over unfamiliar growth. And so relapse is basically your nervous system grabbing the last life raft it recognizes. It's scrambling. You're in the water. You feel like you're drowning. And so that relapse is that lifeboat. Let me just jump on this for a second. Let me just do this. Let me just scroll. Let me just go check on what my ex is doing so that I can feel a little bit better about my success. Or most times you'll feel worse because nobody's past. No one's posting their losses. No one's posting what sucks in their life. They're posting, the highlight reel. So you'll jump back into booze or weed or whatever it might be that gives you that life raft, gives you that comfort. And I'm going to give you this trigger. I want to talk about these things. I want to give you something you can take away today, right now, where you say, I've had enough. I'm done living this old life. And you have got to walk out into the man that you are becoming. It is hard. I'm going to sharpen my sword, and it's going to be painful for you. These are conversations you don't want to have. These are conversations you've been avoiding. These are actions and things that you don't want, but you need to have them. And that's exactly where we're at right now. And the rational emotional behavioral therapy that I'm talking about here, it looks like this, man. The false belief is I need relief right now. The right way to think about it is that I can tolerate this discomfort without escaping it. The powerful reframe, because everything in life is about reframing. It's about seeing it from a different angle. Discomfort is not danger. Discomfort is not danger. Another individual I was talking to recently, we were talking about what freedom looked like for them. And so this guy and I were talking. I said, bro, maybe just help me understand, my man. Like, what does freedom look like to you? And he said, freedom is being able to have enough money to not worry about every penny I'm spending. Freedom is to be able to have more time with my kids, and freedom is to be able to just sit here and be comfortable. And he said that. And I said, well, do you understand that comfort is what kills you? And he said, yeah, I know that. And as we were talking, it was clear that his wiring was so wired, it was so out of bounds, it was so full of worry and fear and anxiousness. It was shutting down logic. It was shutting down creativity. It was shutting down all of those things. And so the relapse felt familiar. There was times when he was telling me he would just clean his whole house instead of going to generate the revenue he needed to drive, because he was avoiding and he was avoiding. And that was what felt most comfortable. And his goal in life was actually to be more comfortable. And that goal right there will kill you. It's not about being more comfortable. It's about finding the hardest thing that you can find to do, the things that you're avoiding, and doing those things. There is not a dad that listens to this that would tell their kids, look, I want you to be as comfortable as you can. I want you to only find things that are comfortable for you. No, dad's roles in their life is leadership. Dad's roles is for them to understand that discomfort is growth, that the pain that you're going to go through is the growth that you need. It's the power you need to level up, to become a man, to think on your own, right? To be able to have, wisdom through that, to have grit and determination and drive. Scripture says that the hand of the diligent maketh one rich. And it's diligence, it's consistency. So the fast system looks like this, and I'll get into this 90-second thing that we can get into, is about this. Ask immediately, focus. What am I trying to escape right now? What's the focus? What are you trying to escape, right? What's the awareness? What's the body signal? Are you getting tight chest? Are you shallow breathing? Are your thoughts racing? Are you antsy? Are you constantly on the go? There was something that I had to recognize in my own life, that for a long time, I could not be in my home if it was quiet. And I don't know if that's you, if you have a similar thing, but I always had music playing. Now, it was good music. It was beautiful worship. It was instrumental hymns. It was all things that were helping me. But I realized, what was I avoiding? I was avoiding silence. And I was avoiding it because it was uncomfortable for me. I was avoiding it because then I was having to hear my thoughts more, which then I had to become more aware to and say, okay, why am I avoiding these thoughts? What are these thoughts that I'm avoiding? And when I got with my coach and mentor and we would go through it, that it was clear that these were things that I was holding on to. I was fearful about. I was avoiding. They were keeping me stuck. So here's a 90-second rule that you can use in these moments. Number 1 is slow breath. Number 2 is no decisions, no texting, no numbing. Delay is the discipline on this one. Delay is the discipline. Why? Because the transformation is every interrupted relapse weakens the old loop and it strengthens your identity. So many guys that I am talking to and working with, really great on the physical side. They love going to the gym and they love getting active, and that's huge. It's such a huge thing. However, what they fail to realize is that their mind is lacking attention, and it's lacking going to the gym. It's lacking you having a process and a system for your mind. You have a system for the gym. You know what you're going to do. I'm going to do back and buys. I'm going to do, chest and tries, blah, blah, blah. You know what you're going to do in the gym. You know the result you want to get. You have a system for that. Your mind, many times when I ask, dads, hey, when did you audit your mind last? When did you audit your thoughts? When have you created a system for where these thoughts need to go? Are these thoughts aligned to where you want to go? Or are they noise? Are they distractions? Are they, you know, subtle bits of the enemy trying to tear you off the track that you're on? They don't have a system. And so their mind is still running in default. It's not running in design. You say, man, Anthony, that's like, you know, like what's that look like? What do I do? Well, it's simple. Start with writing down every single negative thought that you have in the day, and then matching that thought with what the correct thought should be, as well as what the scripture says about you and that thought. The Bible is an old book. It's not an old book, it's an eternal book. Sure, it's old, it's eternal. It's the same yesterday, today, and forever. Everything in there that I talk through and work through goes through that lens. Why? Because it works. Why? Because that book was created and designed for you to follow. It is wisdom, it is insight, it is understanding, it is your blueprint for life. So when you begin to match those thoughts, you begin to create a system. Wow, when I think this, I need to be this instead. I need to become this man. Every negative thought should actually be a sign, a guide, an alert that says, oh, great, I know what to do. It's like when you see a blitz coming on in football. Quarterback sees a blitz coming from the left. Great, I know exactly what to do. I'm going to throw into that blitz. This guy's going to do a quick hook. Boom, we got 6-7 yards. We've taken that off the table. Every thought needs to be organized strategically to the man that you're becoming. Say, Anthony, that's a lot of hard work. It is a lot of hard work, and it's up to you. Everything is hard. So you have to decide, are my children worth the hard work? Is my life worth the hard work? Is having freedom worth the hard work? Because you have to ask yourself the other side, what is it costing me? What is it costing you to not do it? What is it costing you not to do the work in your mind? What is it costing you emotionally? What is it costing you organizationally, financially, relationally? What is it costing you, man, for you to keep doing what you're doing? And I mentioned this about those of you that haven't subbed, sub, bro. Like just sub into this thing if it's been helpful. Write a review if it's been helpful. Let another dad know that, yo, this thing's helpful, man. Like this is challenging me. This is putting me into a new person in a new place and the place where I'm supposed to be. Right. So everything in life is happening for you. And you hear that statement like, whatever. Here's what the scripture says. God will provide a way out so that you can endure it. 1 Corinthians 10:13. There's nothing that you're going through that the God hasn't provided a way out for it. The way out can be a pause sometimes. The way out is not an escape. The way out is not suppression. Endurance is a skill. It's not a personal trait. Here is the relapse card. Here's something that you can write down, keep it visible, and create a system, man. Like simple system. Keep it simple. What triggered me? What triggered you? What am I trying to avoid feeling in that trigger? What am I trying to avoid? What's really bothering me there? Am I fearful of the unknown? Am I fearful to lose everything? Failure, not being good enough, right? What's keeping me avoiding that? And then what's one action that moves you forward, not backward, but forward? What could you do in that moment? You don't need willpower. You need an interrupt. And every time you interrupt it, you cut the cord a little bit, you cut the cord a little bit more, and then you begin to rewire and say, hey, that's not who I am. A client recently that I was working with exactly on this issue, it's been a couple months now, and we talked about it. He had some things that came up and he missed it. They weren't perfect. But he also said to me, he goes, man, a couple months ago, if this would have happened, I would have flown off the wall. I would have been in such a wreck and such a spiral and such a dark place. I said, well, what was different? He said, man, I knew exactly. This was going on. He goes, I started to pray. I worked into my confession and scripture decks that I've been using. I began speaking out who I am, not who I'm not. I began working that through as I've been, and it was easier. I had peace, I had margin, I had clarity, I had confidence. I knew exactly what to do. And so here's the challenge for this week. All right. Interrupt one relapse cycle, even if you don't feel strong. You could walk instead of scroll. You could do some breath work if that's what you're into instead of text. You can journal instead of drinking. You can sit instead of running away from it. Just recently, there's certain times of the day and times of the week when, man, a journal and prompts in the journal is so important, so impactful, so helpful. What's going on now? Why? Why do I do that? Why do people journal? A lot of people don't like it. Let me tell you what, I didn't like it either. I didn't want to go out there and spill my feelings onto a digital notebook. What I realized, and the goal of it is, one, it gets the stuff out of my head and onto somewhere where I could see it. Number two, it allowed me to look back and track my progress in my mind. If you can't manage it, if you can't measure it, you can't manage it. So how are you measuring your mindset? Well, you can look at the thoughts that you were thinking, why you were thinking it, and what you did, what action you took. You can look at it and say, man, I was kind of a 5 or a 6 over here. Now I'm like a 7 or an 8. What happened? Well, you had a system for it. You had a strategy for it. You started to actually do the things that you knew you needed to do. So look, I'll close here. If you're not following us on Instagram, jump in there. Love to know what's going on with you. If you're not in our school group, grab that, jump in. Lots of tools and worksheets, brotherhood. It's a brotherhood, but it's also systems and tools, man. Like brotherhood's great, but you've got to have a system and a flow. You got to get accountable to the system and flow. You've got to do things you've never done before to get the results you've never had before. So I'll leave you with there. I love you guys, and I'll see you guys on the next one, man. God bless you.